Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Brady, and to the witnesses for being here today. Obviously, infrastructure is one area that can unite Republicans and Democrats. It affects all Americans. There's broad bipartisan support for investments in our nation's infrastructure. In Cincinnati, the Brent Spence Bridge has long needed an overhaul. It frustrates commuters, slows commerce, has been deemed functionally obsolete because of safety and capacity concerns. It's on I-75 and I-71, and it connects Ohio to Kentucky. In my more rural areas of southern Ohio, roadways are deteriorating and there's insufficient access to broadband internet. And I know that my district is not alone with these concerns, but instead of focusing on tax hikes that will reduce economic activity, we need to and can be looking at infrastructure solutions that will attract more private investments in our communities. In Cincinnati, there's a neighborhood called Over the Rhine that was at one point considered to be the most dangerous neighborhood in the United States of America. Today, however, it's a destination. It's thriving because of private investment paired with one of the tools in the federal government's tool belt, the New Markets Tax Credit. The Cincinnati Center City Development Corps, 3CDC, planned and engineered a complete revitalization of the neighborhood, and it was invested with more than $500 million into this area called Over the Rhine. 3CDC was started with a $17 million fund from the Cincinnati Business Committee, and the nonprofit sought federal support using the New Markets Tax Credit, and they used historic tax credits as well. Procter & Gamble and other corporate partners added $50 million to buy and bank properties through the New Market Tax Credit programs and committed to providing annual contributions for operating expenses. So, Mr. Novogradac, I understand you have extensive experience in this area. In your testimony, you mentioned how every $1 invested by the federal government, the New Market Tax Credit generates more than $8 of private capital. So what is it about the New Market Tax Credit that encourages such significant private investment, and are there lessons from this program that we can incorporate into other federal programs to help generate similar interest from private investors?
Great, Dr. Wenstrup, thank you for that question. And our Dover, Ohio office has done quite a lot of work with respect to bringing New Market Tax Credits to the Over the Rhine area, and it's great to see the success that has brought to the area over the years. And I think that the success of the New Market Tax Credit is similar to the success of the Historic Tax Credit, the Long-Ago Tax Credit, and the other credits that I speak to here today. It's that public-private partnership. You bring in that equity capital up front, that risk capital, and that risk capital comes in with the tax credit benefit, and that gives comfort to the investors to provide the other debt capital and other capital needs that are at play. So it is, and the key also is that the risk of success of those investments lies with the investor. And getting that equity capital up front is what really generates all the leverage you see in historic tax credit developments, new markets, and other incentives.
Yeah, you know, and with that incentive, you know, these companies, they want to have a safe city. They recruit, especially Procter & Gamble, they recruit from all over the world. They want to have a nice, safe city, and so they're willing to take that risk to improve their infrastructure, if you will, and their neighborhoods. So back in 2017, the president and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers noted a study that found that replacing the bridge I talked about and making related highway upgrades would provide more than $18 billion in economic benefits over 20 years. Dr. Moore, I know you gave an example in your testimony about a toll finance P3 and your comments that P3s offer the ability to raise large private sources of capital for toll projects. How do these projects work for interstate projects like the Brent Spence Bridge, where a state like Ohio is generally supportive of tolls, but Kentucky is reluctant? What can we do to try and solve that?
Thank you very much for the question. I guess the only real answer is, I mean, Kentucky has to be convinced that the benefits are worth it, and that's the only way forward. I think the it's an interstate, so there's clearly a federal role and federal funding involved. And so for the federal government to sort of be the leader in saying this project has interstate economic benefits and is a priority project, and pressure the various parties to come to the table and reach an agreement for a public-private partnership you can't, partnership won't work unless everybody wants to be in the partnership. So everybody has to see the value. And, I'm not familiar with the politics of that particular bridge or why you've got a party that's hesitant, but if they're not excited about it being a partner in it, then it's probably not going to work. So I think that's the path you have to find.
Thank you.
I thank the gentleman.